Hi there. I'm Tom Bergeron, and I want to welcome you to the wonderful world of the Hollywood radio players. The players have created an anthology series of reimagined legendary radio plays that is radio you can see. How's that possible? Well, I know all the secrets, and I'm going to let you in on them. For those of you who are here for the first time, the Hollywood radio players, aka HRP, or the Players, are an established company of Hollywood creative types, actors, directors, writers, producers, who came up with a new Zoom hybrid format to present these classic radio plays. HRP uses today's actors for today's audiences so you can see the characters, not only listen to them, all within the comfort of your own home. Plus, HRP adds special effects, sound effects, music, costumes, and props that are true to the era of the plays, and they stay accurate to the historical scripts. Company members of HRP take turns directing, editing, wearing the different creative hats for each show. They might also perform characters very different in age or gender from themselves, as you're going to see in the play coming up. Every month, HRP generously loans a new episode from their Radio You Can See series to the Motion Picture and Television Fund, MPTF, not only to entertain audiences around the world, but also to raise urgently needed funds for the numerous assistance programs MPTF offers to people in the entertainment community. MPTF has been helping those in need for over 100 years, and of course, the pandemic increased those needs exponentially, so a donation of any amount is deeply appreciated. All right, this month's play, the beloved Western Gunsmoke. Marshall Dillon, Miss Kitty, Doc, and Chester are all here. This episode, Chester's Dilemma, was broadcast on CBS Radio back on January 31st, 1960. The radio series, which was broadcast from 1952 to 1961, starred William Conrad, whose resonant and distinctive voice defined the character of Marshall Dillon. Now, as many of you probably know, Conrad was not cast as Dillon in the TV version of Gunsmoke, but he later found television stardom in several series, such as Cannon and Jake and the Fat Man. The Emmy-winning Gunsmoke TV series starred James Arness as Dillon, and that ran on CBS TV for 20 years, from 1955 to 1975. The radio series was created by Norman Macdonald and John Meston, set in Dodge City, Kansas during the days of the cattle drives of the 1870s when the American West was being developed. It was the creator's intention to give a grittier, darker radio Western for adults in contrast to the popular children's Western radio series such as Lone Ranger and Cisco Kid, and that they did. As author John Dunning notes, quote, "The show drew critical acclaim for unprecedented realism," end quote, and further stated that among radio drama enthusiasts, Gunsmoke is routinely placed among the best shows of any kind and any time. The character of Marshall Dillon was portrayed by Conrad as a lonely, isolated man, toughened by a hard life. As John Meston said of him, Dillon was almost as scarred as the homicidal psychopaths who drifted into Dodge from all directions. Now, Miss Kitty's profession was never spelled out, but only suggested. But in 1953, Time magazine famously wrote, "She's obviously not selling chocolate bars." In the TV series, Miss Kitty started out as a saloon dance hall employee, then in season 2 became half owner of the Long Branch Saloon. Those are fascinating storylines for the 1950s and early 1960s. But radio was a lot bolder than early TV, more creative, and under fewer restrictions. Lee Purcell, Michael Carnegie, and MPTF are the producers of this collaboration between the Hollywood Radio Players and MPTF. This episode was directed by Nancy Wilson and stars the Hollywood Radio Players. Please consider making a tax-deductible donation of any amount by clicking on the link below. You can also click like and subscribe. It helps a lot and would be much appreciated. You can also follow the Hollywood Radio Players on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Their website is hollywoodradioplayers.com. Right now, partner, saddle up. It's time for Gunsmoke.
Around Dodge City and in the territories out west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's the U.S. Marshal and the smell of Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke, the story of the violence that moved west with young America, and the story of the man who moved with it.
I'm that man, Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. The first man they look for and the last man they want to meet. It's a chancy job, and it makes a man watchful and a little lonely.
God darn it, I sure can't find your order, Miss Kitty.
Don't worry about it, Mr. Jonas.
You know, I saw Edna getting the things together, but what she did with them...
Mr. Jonas, I don't mind waiting.
Well, it bothers me, though. She should be here till 5 o'clock, but no, every afternoon come 4:30, she just has to run off to the boarding house, change her clothes, comb her hair, and freshen up, as she keeps saying.
If she's not a good worker, why do you keep her on?
Oh, no, I didn't say that. She's a fine worker, and smart, and purty. Why, in the short time that she's been here, she's cleaned the end of the store from top to bottom, and everybody likes her. As a matter of fact, I'd hate to lose her.
Lose her?
Well, she keeps talking about San Francisco like it was the land of Canaan. She couldn't wait to get there.
Maybe it's only talk.
No, I don't think so. She's too took up with the idea. And I get the notion that Dodge is just the place she ran out of money. Soon as she saves up, she'll be on her way.
She ever tell you where she's from?
I think a farm someplace in Ohio. She keeps saying how she misses the excitement of New York City, the opera and all. But then one day we got to talking about hogs and milk cows, and she let it slip. Almost bit her tongue off after she said it.
You think she's ashamed of being raised on a farm?
No, 'tain't that. It's more like, well, she was scared. Like she had to keep it a secret.
I'm back, Mr. Jonas. I'll just tidy up the counter and... Oh, Miss Kitty.
Hello, Edna. My, you look pretty.
Oh, why, thank you.
Now Miss Kitty's waiting for her order, Edna.
Oh, I've got it all wrapped and sitting on the counter there.
That was very thoughtful. Mr. Jonas was worried.
I knew you'd be in, so I told Mr. Jonas, rather than have you wait, I'd get it ready and he could give it to you. Here you are.
Edna, it's almost 5 o'clock. Are you? Afternoon, Miss Kitty.
Oh, hello, Chester.
I'm all ready, Mr. Proudfoot. You'll have to forgive the way I look, but I've been working all day and a person does get a little wilted.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, shall we go? See you in the morning, Mr. Jonas.
All right, Edna.
Nice seeing you, Miss Kitty.
Nice seeing you. And you too, Chester.
Yes, it was. Very nice.
Mr. Jonas, I think you're wrong.
Oh, about what?
San Francisco. I think Dodge City is as far west as Edna plans to get.
Oh, I just think the trains are the most exciting things, Mr. Proudfoot, don't you? All that black smoke and the huffing and puffing and the way the whistle screams. It's like a big, wild animal or a dragon.
I never really quite thought of it that way.
Would you mind, Mr. Proudfoot, if I just held on to your arm till it leaves?
Well, no, if you're really scared.
My, but you're strong.
Oh,
And you must be very brave, too, working with Marshal Dillon the way you do. Fighting Indians
we don't fight many Indians. Mostly we just,
and capturing rustlers and horse thieves and train robbers.
well, every now and then there's a,
I bet you've saved his life lots of times.
oh, Mr. Dillon has a way of looking after himself.
Oh,
There she goes. You know, it is pretty exciting at that.
it certainly is.
Here's the marshal's mail, Chester.
Well, thank you, Charlie. I was just coming in to get it.
Think you and your pretty little helper can carry all that by yourselves?
Oh, sure, Charlie. This little bit. Oh, I think we'll manage all right. Old Charlie sure is a kidder.
I'll bet there are real important things in those letters.
Well, once in a while there is. Don't seem to be much today, though. They're just 3 wanted circulars.
Could I see one of them?
Guess there's no harm. They're gonna be posted anyway. Here.
What, Texas Sam? Oh, what a mean, terrible looking person.
Well, that's not a very good looking picture of him. He's actually,
Don't show me the others. I don't want to know about such people.
well, all right, but you asked.
But I would like to see those envelopes.
Now, Miss Edna, the U.S. mail is sort of sacred-like.
Oh, Chester, just let me look. Oh, my. The Department of the Interior in Washington, D.C., and the U.S. Marshal's Office in St. Louis. My, all that important mail. It's a responsibility, isn't it?
I think I better walk you home now so I can take the mail to the office. Mr. Dillon likes to look at it before he goes out to supper.
Chester,
Yes, ma'am.
well, the boardwalk's terribly rough. Would you mind if I took your arm?
You sure that's the move you want to make?
I guess so.
That makes 3 games in a row. And I suppose I should feel flushed with victory, but I find absolutely no satisfaction in beating a half-hearted opponent.
What are you talking about?
What's your problem?
There's no problem, Doc.
Oh, come on out with it.
Well, you'll know sooner or later anyway. It's Chester.
Chester?
Yeah, has he been up to see you?
No. Why? Is he sick?
Well, something's wrong with him.
Well, what are his symptoms? What does he do?
Nothing.
Well, then what makes you think there's anything?
Those are his symptoms. He doesn't do anything. When he's here, he walks around with a blank expression. Doesn't hear anything I say. This place hasn't been swept in a week. I made the coffee for 2 days. Day before yesterday, the drifter we had in the cell didn't get any supper. I don't know. Hey,
Oh, that doesn't sound like Chester.
That's what I'm talking about. Do you have any idea what might be bothering him?
As a matter of fact, I do. And the only thing that amazes me is that it hasn't happened long before this.
Well, what is it?
Chester is a victim of your ingratitude.
Oh, now, Doc.
Oh, no, you listen. You listen. You asked my opinion, and I'm going to give it to you. Oh, I've seen cases like this before. Man goes on year after year doing his job, and suddenly one day he asks himself, why? Oh, yes, sure, he gets paid for what he does, but he has to feel that what he's doing is important, that the person he works for appreciates his efforts. If he doesn't, all the spunk goes out of him, and he begins to think maybe he should find something else to do.
You mean Chester's thinking about quitting?
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. Tell me, when was the last time you said something nice to Chester?
Something nice? Look, I can't run this office like a Sunday school. If I have to pat
right,
Chester on the back every time.
You asked me and I told you. Just go along like you have been. No word of thanks, no praise, barking orders, expecting things to be done day after day.
Well, maybe you're right.
You certainly wouldn't want to lose a man like Chester because of your own stubbornness.
No, I wouldn't. Doc, it takes a real friend to be honest with the man, and the way you just were.
Oh, that's all right, Matt. That's what friends are for. Now, how about another game of checkers? And this time, see if you can give me a little competition, huh?
Here she goes.
Yep, there goes that old dragon.
Oh, it sure is exciting.
It sure is. Well, we better go down to the depot and pick up the mail. Old Charlie must have it sorted by now. I have to get it to Mr. Dillon so he can look at it before supper.
Well, you'll have time to walk home with me, won't you?
Well, sure. I didn't mean that. I just meant...
I see you got your pretty little helper with you again, Chester.
I sure have.
Kind of brightens things up to have her come in with you every afternoon the way she does.
Is the mail sorted, Charlie?
Of course it is.
Well, could I have it then, please?
Here.
Thank you, Charlie. Well, see you tomorrow.
You know, Chester, you're my favorite person in this whole town.
I am? Well, that's...
It's true.
That's...
And I'll tell you something else.
What?
This is a secret. Lean over so I can whisper it in your ear.
Well, just say it. Nobody can hear.
Lean over. That's what I think of you, Chester.
Well, oh, ma'am. Miss Edna, that's very nice. I don't think the front street is the place to...
Oh, it's all right, Chester. I don't care who knows.
I think I better take you home. On account of Mr. Dillon would be mad if he doesn't get the mail.
Must be very important mail tonight. Let me see.
You shouldn't do that, Miss Edna.
I know.
Please.
The United States mail is secret, and it's your job to protect it.
Please, give it to me, Miss Edna.
And from the Department of the Army, a circular, a catalog of firearms and ammunition, another circular, a letter from, oops, I dropped that silly old catalog.
That's all right. I'll get it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it ain't hurt none. It's just the new Granger catalog I sent for.
Well, and here are the letters.
Thank you, Miss Edna.
What's the matter?
There was another letter here.
There was?
You know there was. You had it right in your hand. There it is.
Where, Chester?
Well, you stuck it there in your weight shirt.
What makes you so sure that's your letter?
Well, it has to be.
Mr. Proudfoot, are you accusing me of stealing a silly old letter?
No, ma'am. I suppose it could have got there by accident, but
If you're so sure, why don't you just take it away from me?
I don't think that's...
If you try, I'd scream like anything, and everybody in Dodge would think that Chester Proudfoot was a big, nasty old brute.
Good morning, Chester.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Dillon. I'm sorry I didn't get you breakfast this morning.
Every man has a right to sleep late now and then. I think it's kind of a good to eat out breakfast once in a while anyway.
I didn't close my eyes until after sun's up. Just tossed and turned and turned and tossed and tossed and turned.
You know, Chester, I think you've been working too hard, Chester. I think you should take a couple of days, pack your saddlebag, take your fishing pole right out and just loaf a little. Remember that little stream cuts off the Arkansas?
I remember it, Mr. Dillon. But I just couldn't do that.
I can manage without you here for a couple of days.
Mr. Dillon, if you want me to go away, you don't have to be nice about it. I understand.
Chester, I didn't say I wanted you to go away.
You said you could manage without me.
For 2 days? I figure you need a rest, a change. You got a tough job. I got a tough job. Any marshal has. If he doesn't have help he can count on, his job is twice as tough. You're a good assistant. You're loyal. You're dependable. When you're covering my back with a rifle or a shotgun, I don't worry about what's behind me. I can think about what's in front of me.
Mr. Dillon.
Shut up. I'm not finished yet. When I'm out in the prairie 4 or 5 days a week at a time, I got to have a companion I can stand to live with. Well, most of the time I can stand you. Now, does that sound like I'm trying to get rid of you? Does it?
No, sir. And thank you very much. You just helped me make my mind up about something very important.
All right, then. Now make up your mind to clean up this rat's nest from top to bottom before I get back. I'm going to the Long Branch.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
I don't know, Kitty. I guess I was pretty hard on him. But maybe it helped. Anyway, sweet talk to him seemed to make him feel worse.
And that was Doc's idea, huh?
Yeah, he figured Chester needed some encouragement.
And what did you figure?
Well, nothing. I'm just tired of him mooning around like a lovesick calf, neglecting his work.
You said it. I didn't.
Said what?
Mooning like a lovesick calf?
Oh, now, Kitty, Chester? Who?
You men. You get so wound up in your own little world, you don't see any of the interesting things that go on. I suppose now you're going to say you've never heard of Edna Wallstrom?
Well, sure. She's the little girl Jonas hired to work in his store. Came to town a couple of weeks ago.
Well, she's not exactly a little girl. She's 22 if she's a day. She's very cute. And she has set her cap for Chester.
Kitty, Chester isn't the kind to go chasing after girls.
I said she set her cap for him. She's got it all planned. She gets off work at 5. Chester meets her at the store. They walk down to the depot to wait for the 5:15, pick up the mail, and he walks her home.
And that's all?
That's all? It seems to be enough to keep them completely dazed all through the next morning and afternoon.
What do you know?
I'll speak of the devil.
Mr. Dillon?
Well, Chester? Miss Wallstrom?
Marshal?
Think you know Miss Kitty Russell?
Yes, I do. Good evening, Miss Kitty.
Evening, Miss Kitty.
Well, won't you sit down?
We'll sit. We're not going to drink. Miss Wallstrom has something to tell you, Mr. Dillon.
In that case, I'll just leave you three alone.
No, please stay, Miss Kitty. I don't mind.
Well, what is it?
I'm under arrest, Marshal.
What?
Chester arrested me for tampering with the U.S. mails.
You didn't open the letter, Miss Edna, so that just makes it interfering instead of tampering.
Well, that's still a pretty serious charge, Miss Wallstrom.
I know that now, Marshal, but I didn't really believe Chester until he showed it to me in a book, and he said he liked me very much. But if he didn't arrest me, he would be even guiltier than I am, because it wouldn't be loyal to you, and that a marshal has to be able to trust his assistant in everything.
Who was this letter addressed to?
To you, Marshal. Here it is. It's from Mr. Gruber, back on a farm near Akron, Ohio, and it's all a lie.
If you haven't opened it, how do you know it's a lie?
Well, Mr. Dillon, this Mr. Gruber wrote to Miss Edna about a week ago and told her what he was going to do if she didn't take the next train back to Ohio.
Well, let's find out.
If you'd only told me about this, Miss Edna, instead of trying to steal the letter.
I just didn't know what to do, Chester. I thought if the marshal didn't know about it, old Mr. Gruber would leave me alone.
Well, I know, but that's not the
Miss
way.
Wallstrom, did you steal $200 from Mr. Gruber?
No, sir, Marshal, I didn't. He gave it to me. It was a loan.
But he says here you signed a confession.
That's not true. Maybe it was a confession, but he told me I was signing a note.
You're telling me the truth now.
Yes, sir, I am.
Well, we'll find out who's lying tomorrow.
What do you mean, Mr. Dillon?
Gruber's getting into Dodge at 10 tomorrow morning.
Are you going to put me in jail, Marshal?
No. You just stay at the boarding house tonight. But right after breakfast tomorrow, you better show up at my office.
Oh, I certainly will. And Marshal, if you can't make that mean old man tell the truth, I will.
And someone breaks the law, they should be in the jail.
That may be true, Mr. Gruber, but this jail wasn't built for women.
Nah,
I'm still
you
not
got
sure
my-
a law was broken.
Got my letter, you did. And in it is her confession.
I know. And if you file the complaint back in Ohio, I can hold her here in Dodge until I send someone to take her back.
But I am already here. And I will take her back.
Mr. Gruber, the law just doesn't work that way.
But why do you think I came? Why do you think I spent all that money?
I don't know. You say she stole $200. The trip must have cost you twice that much already.
That's right. And it will be worth every penny and more.
But why?
Because of that old fool Gruber. Oh, I'm sick and tired of being that old fool Gruber. Oh, let's laugh at that old fool Gruber, huh? Everybody gets the best of that old fool Gruber. Well, this time, Gruber is going to win. This time, I am going to laugh. Ho, 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 yeah. Then we'll see whether. Who's this?
This is my assistant, Chester Proudfoot.
Huh?
Chester, this is Mr. Gruber from Ohio.
I know. Here's the telegraph, Mr. Dillon from Akron Police.
Now we'll see if old Gruber is so foolish, huh?
You read it, Chester?
Yes, sir, I did.
Now, you read it, Marshal. Go ahead.
Complaint against Edna Wallstrom. Filed here by Hans Gruber, January 10th. Charged with theft. If presently in your city, please apprehend and hold for extradition.
So now I want her arrested.
She's no criminal, Mr. Dillon.
You think not?
No, I don't. She's a fine person, and if she did something wrong, she must have had a real good reason.
Chester?
I'm sorry, Mr. Dillon, but I'm real upset.
Now you look here, young fella.
No, you look here. I think Miss Edna is a very fine person and just won't believe that she would do anything really bad like stealing your money. She works hard, she's nice, she's pretty, and she just wouldn't do a thing like that.
You got a lot to learn, young fella.
That may be, but there's one thing I know. I know that if you say one mean thing when she gets here, or if you try to scare her one little bit, it's going to make me madder than I am.
Are you threatening me?
Chester? Nobody's going to intimidate her. I'll see to that. Now you calm down. I promise you, we'll get to the bottom of this just as soon as we can.
Here she is, Matt.
Hello, Kitty. Come on in, Miss Wallstrom.
And you must be Hans Gruber.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I sure wouldn't be proud of it. This is one of the few times I wish I were a man. I'd cut the rail and carry both ends of it to ride you out of Dodge.
Kitty, I just got Chester calmed down, so don't you start.
No, Matt.
Miss Wallstrom, do you know this man?
That's Mr. Gruber.
Hello, Edna. Why did you do this, Edna?
Mr. Gruber, you told me when I signed the paper that now everything was all right. You know I was going to pay it back.
I didn't mean about some money. Why did you run away? Everybody says they laugh at me.
I can't help that, Mr. Gruber. I had to do it.
But why?
I'll tell you why.
Kitty?
No, Matt, this is important. Mr. Gruber, you're a widower, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. 4 years now.
And Edna here was your housekeeper, your hired girl.
Yeah?
How much did you pay her?
Well, not so much in money, but there was a room and board, and I bought the goods so she could make the clothes.
And on fair day, one Friday a month, you took her to town with you, along with the chickens and eggs and pigs, and you gave her $2 whole to spend. Is that right?
Oh, jawohl.
But for that, she kept the house, did the baking, the cooking, the washing, the ironing, fed the pigs, fed the chickens, gathered the eggs. And when she wanted to leave, you wouldn't lend her enough money to live for 2 weeks while she went looking for another job.
Ah, that is so. But I didn't want her to go away. I mean, she was always talking about New York or San Francisco or whatever. I was afraid if she had the money, she would go away.
But you made it easy for her to steal the $200. Then you made her sign that silly confession so you could use it to frighten her into staying on the farm.
But it didn't work. She had some money. I couldn't find it. But she did use it to go away.
Is that the story, Gruber?
Yeah, that's the story.
You must be very proud of yourself.
No, I'm not. That's why I had to find you, Edna.
I don't even want to talk to you, Mr. Gruber.
You don't have to talk. Don't talk. Just listen. I will do the talk. I had to find you because well, I want you to be Mrs. Gruber.
What?
Oh, yeah, that's all right. Yeah, you can laugh. But listen, too. I've hired a couple. Yeah, Jakob Glasnap and his missus to run the farm. And you know that little house there with the green shutters? That's a shaver place we used to best going into town. The one you always liked so much.
What about it?
I bought it.
Well, that's very nice, Mr. Gruber.
No, wait. I'm not finished. Look in this envelope. Go ahead.
2 train tickets to San Francisco. Why, Mr. Gruber.
And I wrote to the Palace Hotel. They will get us married, and we will stay there, and we buy some awesome fancy clothes, and we go to the show houses, and
Oh, Mr. Gruber.
Oh, I want you call me Hans Edna.
Oh, Hans, you are the nicest person I ever met.
There is a train at 5:15, and if you can get picked.
Oh, I can, Hans. And we'll have to hurry. You can come with me, and we'll get everything together.
What about this warrant?
I will write to them from San Francisco. You just forget about it, Peter, please.
But now that's about the damnedest thing I ever.
Oh, I'm just so excited. I almost went off without saying goodbye. Miss Kitty, thank you so much for helping me. And Marshall, I'm sorry I took the letter. Really, I am. And Chester.
Yes, ma'am.
Please lean over.
Well, now I'm...
Please Chester, I think you are the second nicest person I've ever met. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Miss Etna.
I'm sorry, Chester.
No, that's all right, Miss Kitty. It's just Mr. Dillon, some people are sure hard to figure out.
Chester, if you mean by some people, you mean women? They certainly are.
Gunsmoke, directed by Nancy Wilson, edited by James Tripp. Starring Michael Carnegie as Matt Dillon, David Westberg as Chester, Lee Purcell as Kitty, Gay Jones as Edna, Ed Williams as Doc, Josh Horowitz was Jonas, Chris Frost was Charlie, and Dana Kelly played Hans. The Doan's Pills ladies were Dave McAllister and Amalisha Huack. This is James Tripp, inviting you to join us again next week when CBS Radio presents another story on Gunsmoke.
Gunsmoke trail. Oh, tell me of days gone by. Though alone, you still wind your way. All the ghostly horsemen riding as they speed the eastern mail. It's up to you to see them through Gunsmoke Trail. Gunsmoke Trail. The gunsmoke now has faded from the blazing 44s. The stagecoach is rusting on the hill. The wagon wheels you used to feel will sing their song no more. The sound of the caravan is still Gunsmoke Trail.